Before I get started, this video idea wasn't mine. I got this idea from some other creators, which I'll link in the description. I've been playing video games for a decent amount of time. Sure, for some of that time I played a lot of Mario games, but I eventually started playing bigger and more complicated games. Along with getting a job and being able to afford a lot more video games, I started to have to put some games off for others. And it's been this way for almost 2 years now, so I figured I'd share some of my epic gamer knowledge and see if I can help others manage their video game backlog. There won't really be any good pacing to this video either. It'll mostly just be me talking about different ways to manage all of your games. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. Before we get too deep, we need to have a clear definition of what a video game backlog is, and while I did find some decent ones, I figured I'd just make one up. To me, a video game backlog is a collection of video games, physical or digital, that go an extended period of time without being started or played/finished. So, with our definition set, let's see if we can solve a few problems other people and myself face when playing video games. Like any product, you gotta buy it before you can experience it. Some people, like myself, struggle with buying games when there are already plenty others that are already in my catalog. Sometimes when I'm out shopping, I'll check out a used game store or check out what games Target or Best Buy has to offer. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that video games can be expensive. There have been a few times when I'm checking out and I see the total price and thought, geez, did I really spend that much? So I'd recommend just going a few weeks or months without buying any new games. It's so easy to fall into a pattern of buying new games, playing one or some of them, forgetting the others, then buying more games, wash, rinse, repeat. If you keep up that cycle, it'll be a lot more challenging for you to finish all of your games. The only times I'd recommend buying a new game is if 1. It's a sequel or extension of a game you already like. If you buy a sequel or a prequel of a game or series you already enjoy playing, chances are you're more likely to start playing it sooner. 2. The game is on sale for super cheap. It's important to keep a budget for any kind of spending habits, especially for an expensive hobby like video games. It's easy to spend more money than you realize, so if you just have to buy a new game, at least get it for a good price. And 3. If you've heard really good things about it. Like any product, you should know what you're getting into. Try asking any friends if they played or enjoyed the game you're thinking of buying, or look at any online reviews to help you decide. Most of the time, I never fully trust the trailer, since it's designed to look really fun and enjoyable just so you buy it. Honestly, I'd encourage you to even look at gameplay footage just so you have a clear idea. I know those suggestions seem super specific and weird, but they help me manage how many games I buy. The amount of times I've told myself, don't buy it yet, you haven't finished the game before it, or I'll think about buying this game later since I'm not 100% sure about the gameplay yet, has helped stop me from impulse buying a game is a surprisingly high amount. Video games aren't going anywhere, so there's no real need to buy a game as soon as you see it, just to not play it for months. Buy games when you think you're ready to play a new game, which leads me into a new point. Know how much free time you have to play video games. Don't get me wrong, I wish I had more time to play too, but sometimes I just don't have all day to play. It's good to know what type of pacing the game has while you play. If it's a story-driven game that needs time to let the story sink in, like Telltale's The Walking Dead, set aside about 4 or 5 hours of free time so you can enjoy the story. A couple of years ago, before I went on vacation, I decided to spend the entire day playing Life is Strange before I left. And while I did have some time to explore the world and find collectibles, I was rushing to finish the game, and that ultimately hindered my overall enjoyment of the game. Always keep this in mind. Video games are supposed to be a fun and enjoyable hobby. You don't need to spend all day grinding a game just for the sake of finishing it. Spend your free time enjoying the game at your own pace, because the game isn't going anywhere. Take your time. Enjoying games brings me to my next point. Play games that genuinely interest you. I'm gonna say this like 100 times through this video, but like I said before, video games are a hobby, so don't feel forced to play on the most recent console and play the most recent games. As of writing this script, I'm only just now getting around to games like God of War Ragnarok and Sunset Overdrive. It's okay if you aren't fully up to speed on every new game. It would be almost impossible to keep up with new games being released almost every day. If there's a game that released 10 years ago on the Xbox 360 that you've played bits and pieces of but you know you like, go ahead and finish the game. Play what makes you happy. You shouldn't feel forced to play whatever is new. I know big companies try to rope you in with day one DLC and pre-order bonuses, but don't let them make you feel like you have to play them. And then on the opposite side, if you're playing a game that you don't like or you don't think is fun, just stop playing it. It'll be easier for you in the long run. There have been times when I forced myself to finish a game, like Fire Emblem Conquest. I don't like that game, and I knew that during my playthrough, and after I finished it, all it left me was this feeling of why? Why did I push myself? Why did I waste my own time? Why didn't I just stop? Seriously, as someone who's been in that position, it's just easier to stop playing now and find something more fun. Transitioning into our next topic, take a break from all the games you're playing. Others, and myself included, try to juggle 2 or 3 games all at once, and sometimes you just get burnt out on playing those games. So never feel ashamed to take a break from those games, or video games as a whole. There are plenty of other enjoyable and fulfilling hobbies to replace video games for a short or long period of time. You don't even have to take a break from video games if you don't want to. You can easily switch over to a game that's more calm like Minecraft or Animal Crossing. I've already said this a lot, but video games are supposed to be a fun hobby. If it's stressing you out or you think you've been playing too much, just take a break. No harm in that. One thing I've seen other people struggle with is the need to 100% a game once they finish it. Don't get me wrong, finding collectibles and other secrets is fun, but sometimes they take away too much of your time. Recently, I decided to fully complete The Amazing Spider-Man on Xbox 360. When I started, I thought it would be a fun time, but after I needed to find every little item, it started to get repetitive and kind of annoying. Take a listen to how I sounded after I finally finished it. Alright, I've finally done it. I've completed every level while getting 100%. Everything is 100%ed here. And then if we go to our statistics, everything is 100% here as well. All the collectibles, all the photographs, all the upgrades, and everything like that, and gotten everything in under about 19 hours. And it was a lot. I've been grinding this game for like 5 days, but I'm finally done. I don't know if you could tell, but I felt pretty tired after I'd finished all of that. It took me nearly 19 hours to find every little thing, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it sure did feel like it. Keep in mind, I hardly ever complete games, so this took a lot of energy out of me. I felt tired and drained afterwards, and when I finally got that completion bonus, I barely felt anything. It was mostly a feeling of relief that it was finally over. I think fully completing a game depends on what game you're playing. Is the completion bonus worth it? Can I use this bonus during the post-game? Is there even anything left for me to do when I complete this game? While it is nice to complete a game, make sure your time put in will actually be worth it, or the game is fun to complete. But if the game you want 100% is boring, just use your free time and play something different, because in some cases you won't be satisfied even when you collect everything. This last point is something I haven't seen many others struggle with, but I do. I'll be honest, I hesitate to try out new games sometimes. I want to make sure this game I'm thinking about spending my money and my time on will be worth it. I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan now, but before when I first started playing, I wasn't sure I'd like it. I'd never really played any RPGs before and wasn't familiar with the series, but I gave it a shot. I finished Awakening and ended up loving it. Loving it so much, I've bought and finished nearly every Fire Emblem game, except for Path of Radiance. That game is super expensive. It's easy to continue playing games you already enjoy and put off playing new ones. Sometimes new things can make people uneasy, and I am one of those people. But sometimes you just need to take a chance and try to enjoy new games. I gave Fire Emblem Awakening a chance and I love it. I gave God of War a chance and I love it. I gave Ghost of Tsushima a chance and I love it. I could say this for so many different games that I may not have played. And of course, you will run into games that you don't like, and it does suck to know you spent your hard-earned money on something you didn't find interesting. But at least you gave it a shot. It's okay to not like every game you play. That would be almost impossible. Some people prefer different genres of games, and that's completely okay. Not every game is meant for everyone. Making sure you aren't buying a bunch of new games when you still have others to play is important. It's also important to take breaks from games and play games you actually enjoy. Like I've said 100 times already, video games are a hobby, so don't feel pressure to play the newest game all day every day. Just sit back and play what makes you happy. Hopefully you guys were able to use what I said and learn some stuff about your backlog. I know this kind of content is different from what I usually do, but I wanted to see if I could help anyone else's backlog problem. So if this video helped you, I'm glad I was able to assist you. I hope I gave you some actual useful tips. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later.